Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here with Everything MSP. I hope you're having an awesome day. I'm very excited to have you here with us for today's event, a very impactful conversation on a topic that's becoming more and more relevant, and that's connectivity. Connectivity at a high density events. And whether it's a trade show, outdoor festival, a tech conference, charity event, whatever the case, the need for reliable, scalable internet has become mission critical, not just for attendees, but also for event organizers, vendors, and MSPs alike. Today's session, we're going to unpack how 5G technology is transforming how we approach connectivity for these events, and more importantly, how MSPs can monetize these opportunities. So I want to bring in our special guest today. Joining me, we have somebody who's not just talking the talk, he's walked the floors of packed venues and remote festivals alike. We have TJ Vanderwerf, the Director of Operations with RYTHMz. How you doing today, TJ?
Doing great, Dan. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, and I love the background there. You got some cool rhythm.
I've got plenty of connectivity, plenty of internet. I'm literally surrounded by internet right now.
Exactly. That is awesome. You could probably reach the internet so much quicker than anybody else based on the speed and the amount of connectivity you have.
I am with the arm's reach of, let me do the math real quick, 17 modems. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we kind of joke that, as many modems and antennas and stuff as we have, you wouldn't want to be standing where I am with all these powered on, because who knows what might happen.
Exactly. And I mean, you have an incredible background, and I'm going to have you jump into some of your background, as far as event management, being in the, IT, providing IT solutions. I don't want to steal any of your thunder from your introduction. So with that, I'm going to have you jump in because it's some pretty cool stuff I'd love to hear about.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm obviously, one of my favorite topics to talk about is myself. So I am TJ Vanderwerf with RYTHMz, Director of Operations over here. As we joked about earlier, it's not a vague job title at all. Do quite a few different things coming on over here, and with a different background. There we go. We'll dive right into this. A little bit of kind of what we'll talk about. That it's a pretty short deck that we got today, and so we'll just dive right into it. As far as me and myself, 15 years of event management experience, over 20 years in IT solutions, and I'm a big nerd. Was once lucky enough to be on stage with Weird Al and perform as a stormtrooper and a scout trooper for that concert. It was definitely a lot of fun.
I mean, you got to tell us a little bit about being on stage with Weird Al. Is Al as weird as his name is?
Absolutely, but he's a total performer and puts the performance and that attendee experience first. Definitely a show that if you're into nerdy things, just having fun, would definitely recommend. I was lucky enough to have been a member of the 501st Legion charity costuming group for, at this point, about 15 years, and had a lot of really awesome opportunities there. And this one was just one of them, where I was able to be on stage with 10 other stormtroopers or 11 other stormtroopers and do the whole choreographed dance and everything, and just have a blast. And he made sure to come back after the performance and did photos with us all and meet everybody. It was an absolute blast.
That's very cool. You gotta love those stories. I mean, those are things that you'll just never forget, and you can tell the kids and grandkids about.
Yeah, it's always good to have photographic evidence as well. But yeah, as far as my event background, it started off, obviously, as everybody, you start going to events, and in about 2010, it was 2009, I got an email from Phoenix Comic-Con saying, "Hey, we're looking for staff and managers. Do you want to be part of that?" And I said, that sounds fun, and dove into it head first, and was on their management team for quite a few years. Ended up owning and running my own conference with a business partner for a few years. Been able to travel just kind of all over the country, attending and putting on shows. And that's a little bit of even where RYTHMz came from, with my background and our CEO, Steve Copeland, his background running events. We're like, there's definitely a need here for connectivity when the traditional wired resources aren't necessarily the best fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump into this topic, because it is, a critical thing that, I think as we look for new ways to drive revenue, that's where, I mean, you guys fall into play, but it goes beyond that, and it's really filling a void. It's differentiating yourself as an MSP, and why not jump in this space when others might jump in and also be an MSP?
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where at the end of the day, connectivity is connectivity. If we talk about, and I know this slide says rhythms for events, making it sound like it's something really special and different and unique, we're still talking about basic connectivity, which is the number one thing MSPs are responsible for. We're not really doing anything different. Maybe we're going outside, maybe we're doing a different venue and a different setup, but guess what? Inside all of these boxes is still networking equipment. It's really not that much different. Or maybe we're dealing with 5G modems versus a cable or a fiber modem, but we still have access points. We still have VLANs. We still have all of that normal connectivity that MSPs are used to supporting. But as soon as we put events in front of it, people kind of get freaked out. People go, well, then it's different. It's all of these other things. And it really is the same level of support that MSPs are already used to offering in a slightly different package. That's a completely new revenue stream and a new opportunity for MSPs to talk to their customers and be able to better support their customers. Because at the end of the day, everybody's doing an event at some point. Whether that event, the form and factor of that particular event might change. Maybe, as you were saying, a trade show, a conference, a tech show, a home and garden show, or any of these other things, outdoor festival, charity event, things are coming up with needing remote connectivity. The easy use case is registration. Somebody shows up to an event. How do you know if they're on the list? Did they buy their ticket? Did they pay for it? Do they have their QR code? How are you processing that? That's the easy one. Past that, point of sale. If there's on-site purchases happening, how are those getting tracked? On-site engagement, all sorts of augmented reality, live polling, interactive content is coming more and more prominent with events as kind of a day-to-day operation. And then we move into the operations. And what if that event, you need to send out an update saying, hey, the parking instructions changed. Well, you need to make sure you have that on-site connectivity to be able to get that out there. And then going even further into the marketing side, live streaming, how are we engaging with people who aren't there? How are we building FOMO from a marketing perspective, as well as driving engagement for those remote attendees? Maybe there was remote tickets sold, maybe there's all these other sorts of different things. And then lastly, attendee and VIP Wi-Fi. Just another way that we can talk about the same connectivity, but it sounds different. But really, when we talk about all 6 of these different use cases, it's just connectivity at the end of the day.
So, I think a lot of MSPs, they don't think of themselves as, providers of internet connectivity for events. And, I think it's just that shift in the mindset that, just because we've been doing things a certain way for so long, there are so many untapped opportunities, and it's just a matter of thinking differently and looking for unique, fresh opportunities to drive growth and revenue in your business, right?
Absolutely. And you're completely accurate that MSPs don't think of themselves, well, we're not the internet provider. That's Cox, that's CenturyLink, that's somebody else. But when those vendors fail, who gets the first call? MSPs are accountable to their connectivity partners without having any insight into the network, without having any control over it, but you're absolutely beholden, because when that ISP fails, you get the call and say, why is the internet down? And
you're the bad guy.
And you're the bad guy, and you had nothing to do with it. And it might be like, hey, there's network maintenance. Maybe it was a quick thing. Maybe it was that fiber seeking backhoe that, construction down the street took out an entire grid. All of those things happen, and those MSPs are responsible for it. I shouldn't say actually, they're accountable for it without being responsible for it. And that's really this weird place to be. And that's why we talk about take back the cloud. Obviously, we're not talking about bringing the cloud on-prem, which is happening. We're talking about take back your connectivity to the cloud. How do you connect, and how do you as an MSP take ownership of that connectivity and also be responsible and accountable to it?
Yeah. So let's talk about some success stories. Let's talk about ways in which RYTHMz has helped MSPs in these kind of scenarios.
Mm-hmm. So these are just some of our high-level kind of different use cases that we've been able to be successful in the last year. So first off, Phoenix Fan Fusion was actually just a couple months ago, formerly Phoenix Comic Con, 130,000 people for a 3-day event at the Phoenix Convention Center. We handled all of the on-site registration, which was 4 different locations outside the convention center. We had their marketing team, their operations team, their IT team, and as well as some of their vendors and their sponsors, all on our network. So we actually deployed 9 different boxes. So these guys and some larger ones throughout the conference center, and we're able to cover over 1 million square foot facility with connectivity for 135,000 people. Now, I'm not talking about 135 concurrent connections. Right. That would be very impressive. But making sure that event was able to run smoothly, and they're very happy with us. And one of their sponsors was actually a gaming PC company, and so we gave them a dedicated VLAN and gave them complete support. They were worried because they wanted to do some live gaming and things like that from the convention center floor. I think it was day 2, they turned on the PCs, and all of a sudden, apparently Fortnite decided to update. And before they could cancel the Fortnite updates, the computers were already completing them because the network was just that fast. So that was a problem that was a fun solution, because before we even knew what was going on, the data was already there. And we were able to provide them the connectivity they needed.
That's very cool.
So Worlds Away Festival, that was an EDM festival in Monterey, California. The biggest issue we had with that is that was a fully remote site at the Monterey Fairgrounds. So we were on one side was an Air Force base, and the other side was just open green and woods. And we were able to bring connectivity to this remote site for 8,000 EDM festival attendees, the VIP area, all of the performers, and everything there. That literally kind of felt like the middle of nowhere, especially because when we talk about 5G, there's no 5G coming from a military facility. So we actually were able to make it work, even when we didn't think, a lot of people didn't think we were going to get connectivity. Long Beach Juneteenth Festival was out in the park in Long Beach. It's an annual event. 15,000 people ran all their point of sale, registration, VIP area, and attendees. That was a great partnership and really enjoyed working with them. ScaleCon was fun. If anybody's familiar with ScaleCon, is an MSP conference. The fun part about that one was the fact that we actually deployed a secret network inside of Caesars property on the Las Vegas Strip. So Caesars, the Caesars Entertainment Group, they were more than happy to provide Wi-Fi for the event and connectivity at quite a price tag. So we were able to come in and save the event a ton of money by using our network. And at the end of the day, we actually reached out. We've got some friends within that group and said, hey, did you guys know this network was up on your property? And they were unaware. And they were going through about 150 to 200 gigs of data a day. So over. Well,
you think about some of the most expensive things that are out there. You really sometimes don't have a choice. Let's take a look at the cost of, all those food and snacks that you have in your hotel room, right? Mm-hmm. That aren't free. Because of the convenience, they charge you an arm and a leg. But connectivity at events, connectivity at conferences, if you're getting it directly from the event itself, because they have you locked in, it is astronomical. Like you're talking here, the savings for that event, it is mind blowing.
Absolutely. It's we call it stadium pricing. Here's your $7 bottle of water and your $16 beer, right? Because you have no other choice. You have to go with them as this vendor, and conference venues and conference event spaces know that. And it is sometimes in their contracts, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is that you have to use them. Well, the technologies progress. We don't have to be beholden to the fiber or the cable in the ground. We can deploy connectivity wherever that need might be. And it definitely gives the consumer and that end user a lot of different options and opportunities to save money. And that the end user saving money is that revenue stream for an MSP. That's where you can come in and say, hey, yeah, you did get an $18,000 quote from the convention center for a 20 meg connection. Why don't we go ahead and work together? And for $6,000, I'll give you a 200 meg connection. And the math is fine. It's simple math, right? A better connection for less money. And now the MSP has a revenue opportunity.
Yeah. Let's talk about the last two. Rose Bowl really jumped out at me.
The Rose Bowl was a lot of fun. The Rose Bowl, so if you're familiar, obviously, with the parade and everything, the facility, it's a 100-year-old concrete stadium, notoriously known for horrible cell connections.
Yeah.
And that was actually our alpha test. Our alpha test happened to be a Coldplay concert. So Coldplay in the news a little bit lately has kind of been fun for us because RYTHMz actually of a Coldplay concert in essence. That was our alpha testing, where we got to go and actually do the Wi-Fi connectivity for the VIP area for Neft Vodka at the Rose Bowl. So that was a lot of fun. And actually, this is one of our prototypes boxes. This was one that was there at that particular event. This was a lot of fun. And then lastly, Superhero Saturday was a small local event out here in Arizona, supporting local police department and Phoenix charities and things like that. Just a pop-up festival in a parking lot, and they're like, hey, we don't have internet. We need internet. And so was able to work with them and provide that and give them connectivity where they didn't think they were going to be able to get any.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's too bad you guys weren't at the last Coldplay concert last week.
Clearly they had connectivity because that went viral pretty quickly.
It did. Exactly. So, I mean, you guys got a lot of things. We're talking about bonded traffic, mesh networking. There's so much involved in what you guys offer. And I'd like to get a little bit granular if we could jump into that.
We absolutely can. So the biggest thing is with RYTHMz, we've designed the solutions to be scalable and to be plug and play. So I've got, obviously the graphic on the screen shows us a few of our different pieces of hardware, and I've got some sitting right next to us. Literally, all you have to do for one of these, we call this a V-Link, is plug in power and flip the switch, and within 2 to 3 minutes, the network is live with connectivity. So we can take one of these and be a standalone solution, especially if it's a small, pop-up event like that Superhero Saturday. They just needed 2 of these devices, and it was able to support all their needs. Or we can take these and we can scale them up. So like like a Phoenix Fan Fusion, which needed 9 devices, actually with all the larger devices than this, more of this size. We deployed 9 of those throughout. They're designed to go wherever you need them, ruggedized, water-resistant cases, can take a little bit of a beating. We designed them that way, and deploy that connectivity where it's needed and at what level. Because we do with different devices, we do have level of connectivity in terms of level of bandwidth. So some devices can support higher speeds than other, all depending on that use, but really designed to be plug and play, modular, scalable.
Okay. When you take a look at, actually, we're going to jump into that. There is a question that has come up, but I'm going to have you jump into here on why it works first, and then we might be able to answer that question.
Okay. Well, the first thing when we talk about 5G connectivity, everybody always has that mental picture of Wi-Fi hotspots, right? T-Mobile's pushing them, Verizon's been pushing them for, a decade now, and they've got their pros and cons. And it comes down to the fact that, believe it or not, you're going to get a slightly different performance out of the little pucks, about 3 inches wide, or maybe even the connectivity on your phone versus dedicated hardware. So the first thing that stands out with our devices is concurrent connections. So this device right here has 3 different modems in it on AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile's networks all at the same time, all bonded together to give you a better connection. So you're going to see low latency, high bandwidth across all carriers and being able to get connectivity where you don't think there is any. Also, since we operate on prioritized SIM, we get data. If you pull out your phone and you're like, I'm getting really slow speeds, we're going to see higher speeds because we've negotiated with the carriers to be priority. So when we higher priority, and this slide's kind of messed up, unlimited data caps, no throttling, and all of those other things come together to get a much better solution. And one of the biggest things is also, as we joke, size matters. We have much bigger, more powerful antennas in all of our boxes. So when you think, hey, I'm not getting any 5G signal because this tiny little antenna in my phone isn't getting a good signal, we're not in the same level of performance when we talk about these, which this right here has, do math real quick, 15 antennas in it. So 12 dedicated cellular antennas, 4 for each modem, as well as dual Wi-Fi antennas and a GPS antenna. So we're dealing with a lot more connectivity. We're able to grab that traffic. So combined bonding, cross carrier, higher priority SIMs, and a better antenna, we're able to get that connectivity where you don't think there is any. Many times I've been in trade show conferences and pull out my phone, 20 megs. All right, not bad for my phone. And when we'll turn one of these on, we'll easily be getting now 220 megs on the same network.
Yeah. So when we talk about concurrent users out of a box, what does that look like?
Not all users are made equally. And we got to remember that because we do have those users that are just sending and receiving email, internet browsing. Those, depending on the box, we can support anywhere between 20 or 30 per box to up to several hundred, depending on the solution. But also, as I said, not all users are the same. Somebody who's streaming Netflix, backing up their SQL databases, doing massive uploads to the cloud, that is going to have a huge impact. So as much as user count matters, user count isn't as important as total network bandwidth and network support. So we have seen on some of our smaller boxes, kind of the use case that I like to use is a 30-person office, including VoIP, could easily support that.
Gotcha. And, so because it is all the three carriers are bonded, so we don't have to worry about, if one particular carrier, were to go down, it's automatically, it's not really failing over per se because you're already bonding those three carriers.
Exactly. It's called hot failover. So rather than a normal failover where you do still take an outage, you still are out for maybe 30 seconds. With a hot failover, since those are all concurrent, there's no outage. You'll see a drop in bandwidth, yes, but that Teams call, that Google Meet or video conference isn't going to fail. It isn't going to reconnect or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of those benefits of that. I mean, let's in different use cases, because I think depending on the use case, again, if you're at an event and you might be doing you have some POS terminals at that event, and you're trying to ring through, you don't have to worry about the kind of issues that you might have if you just had a single hotspot.
Exactly. Well, it's because a single hotspot or a single carrier, it's a single point of failure. And that doesn't matter if we're talking about events or with your standard MSP customers. Every moment they're down, that might be revenue out of their pocket. That's a conversation that MSP should be having with their customers and their partners is, hey, how much does an outage cost you? What if you're down for 30 minutes? What was your revenue loss? Some environments, that could be thousands of dollars on a 30-minute outage. Some environments say, 30-minute outage, that's fine. We don't care. But what if it's a day? What if it's a couple of hours? What are those conversations? Because you might need to have different backup solutions. And I know we're getting outside of events a little bit, but that really is a cornerstone of the technology and of the solution is that by moving away from terrestrial cable in the ground, we're able to have a lot more reliability within the solution.
Let's talk about money. It's kind of an important thing, right? Let's talk about, the revenue opportunities for MSPs because, there's incredible opportunity for MSPs to be able to drive a new revenue stream.
Absolutely. So when we talk about, and specifically within events, your customers are doing events. How they do events, what those events might look like is going to vary hugely. Maybe they're just attending a trade show. Maybe, the last use case we had with an MSP partner here in Phoenix, their customer was attending a trade show, home and garden show. And they're like, we just want good internet at our booth for us, for usage, for sending emails. Because they're at the event, they still had to work. So we were able to deploy one of these boxes right there in their booth. They were thrilled. Fun thing about that particular home and garden show, it was at the Arizona Cardinal Stadium, which the grass there actually is on wheels. So they wheel the grass outside and they host like RV shows and home and garden shows. Oh, wow. So they were actually on the field inside, or where the field would be inside the football stadium and around this giant concrete box, and still had great connectivity.
Nice.
So maybe your customers, they're hosting those events. They're actually putting them on. Well, okay, if they're putting it on, are they working with the venues and paying those astronomical fees as far as their costs that can easily be $2,000 a day? that's a lot of money just for not great Wi-Fi. When was the last time you went into a hotel and logged onto that free Wi-Fi and went, wow, this is great performance? Normally they say, oh, you like more than 8 megs? That's $5.99 a day or whatever it is.
Right.
Bring that in, but talk to your customers and say, hey, is there any time you need a remote connectivity? Because it could be an event. It could be somewhere they're sending their team out and doing things for offsites or anything there. And if you really get into it and you've got that great relationship with your customers, you can talk to them about sponsorship opportunities for them to make money by having a better network on site. If all of a sudden they're able to have a better connectivity on site, can they now live stream the event? Can they sell online tickets? Let's say it's a conference or a speaker series or anything like that. That might be new revenue for them. If they're putting on their own show, can they now offer a Wi-Fi sponsor because the Wi-Fi is worth sponsoring, and now they have revenue that they can come in and they can make money? Can we work with them and with you as an MSP to do things like captive portals? Can we grab attendee and user contact information? Can we immediately reach out to them via social media, retargeting for marketing and all those kinds of things that we can get really creative about?
Exactly. And you think too, a lot of events that are out there that MSPs might be involved in too. You hear a lot of MSPs that are going from a marketing perspective. Maybe it's a chamber golf event, and so they're going out there. Maybe they're sponsoring a hole. They're live on a hole, and they want to be able to talk about what they can do. But what better opportunity to also share how in a real format, how you can provide this level of connectivity.
Absolutely. And I wish we had actually planned this, because we couldn't have planned it better, Dan, talking about golf tournaments, because believe it or not, golf courses are not thrilled about the idea of cutting up the fairways in order to run fiber or Cat 5 out to different holes for sponsorships. But most of those holes actually do have power. So we can actually, or even use a RYTHMz box on battery, go and give you a good, reliable, high bandwidth hotspot and connectivity at whatever hole you might have on the golf course. We've done it. We did it for the long ball drive competition. We've done other golf tournaments. Literally something that we've done quite a few times with RYTHMz solutions.
That's very cool. Well, let's move on to our next section, talking about some those contract pitfalls to take into consideration.
So one thing, when people are putting on events within their event venue contracts, it normally does have a clause about exclusivity of vendors. So whoever's signing the agreement with that event venue is required by their contract to use the in-house vendors that are available. One of those tends to normally be IT services or AV services. So if you're having that conversation with your partners, maybe when they're talking about, hey, we are thinking about doing a conference or whatnot, just make sure to check in with them and say, hey, is that clause in your contract? Because if it is, you might be required to use an example, the Marriott, we might have to use the Marriott's network. We might not have another choice. I have found in all the conferences that I've put on, that is a very easy item to negotiate and just say, hey, we do want to bring in another vendor for this. Obviously, they're not going to let you bring in another vendor for everything because they want to make money. But as far as doing the ones and twos and say, hey, we do want to bring in somebody for connectivity, or as you as the MSP, hopefully your partner wants to bring you in to be the technology services and not be beholden to the AV partner of that venue, is the best thing to have those conversations early. Those can be changed, those can be edited, and once again, addendums, but that's one of those things that's always better to get in front of. So if you ever do hear that one of your customers is talking about an event, make sure you talk about being able to bring in third-party vendors for their technology.
Excellent. What are some of the other aspects of those contracts that an MSP should be concerned about? Are there any other aspects that those gotchas?
The biggest is that vendor exclusivity. And you got to use be thinking outside the box a little bit. If it's a big venue, you already mentioned Marriott. If it's a big Marriott, they want you to use their catering. If you're going to bring in a food truck, they have to manage it because they want their margin. If you make sure you just to say, hey, we're allowed to do AV and technology and connectivity, then you're going to be in the clear. sometimes you can get away without, but you also don't want to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar of, deploying networks where you're not supposed to, and things like that. You'd hate for your customers to get into trouble. So that's just the biggest thing, like I said, is get in front of it. It's not a hard line item to negotiate. I've never met a venue that wasn't willing to work with me on it, as long as you bring it up early.
Excellent. So, let's jump into a summary of essentially what an internet in the box is.
Internet in a box is RYTHMz. They reuse that term a lot, but what are we talking about? Well, it's about bringing the connectivity where it's needed. The best, example of it, there's the old IT Crowd episode where they talk about the internet, and they give the, Jen, the box with the blinking red light. That's what we kind of literally made in real life, and it actually is the internet, and it is wireless, and it is all of these other things. Our boxes just don't have that blinking red light, but by being able to bring in multiple carriers, a bonded connection, larger antennas, that VPN hot failover for low latency, and then our cases being able to really take it anywhere, we're talking about a complete solution in a box where you can bring connectivity to your customers whenever and wherever, as well as keep them online more. We talked about single point of failure before, really being able to diversify their connectivity options and making sure they stay up as much as possible.
Excellent. And one last question for you. When you take a look at an advantage for an MSP that offers this, in terms of both client perception and business growth, can you just expand on that a little bit?
A great question. As far as the client perception, we hit it on it a little bit earlier. It's being accountable to connectivity without any sort of insight into the response or the responsibility and what's going on with that. By coming in with a solution like RYTHMz, you're able to be responsible for the network. It's a great call to be able to do that almost no MSPs have been able to do before, is call your customer and say, hey, you have an internet outage. You don't know because you've already failed over. Your bandwidth is a little lower, but I want to let you know that Cox is down. I'm going to go ahead and get on the phone with Cox and figure out what's going on with that outage. But in the meantime, you're up and you're fine. And being able to have that conversation, that's the literal opposite of how those conversations tend to go. So that is the biggest differentiator, by being able to be responsible for your network and to know what's going on. It makes you look and sound more like that subject matter expert. Because like we said earlier, as soon as that network goes down, you're getting the phone call. You're getting the screaming match of why can't I connect to whatever it might be? And it's not something you can fix necessarily. So RYTHMz does give you, from a perception standpoint, that ability to be the full solution and be the answer.
Awesome.
And so the second part of your question was about revenue. They're already paying for connectivity. They're paying for connectivity and legacy agreements and legacy technologies that it gives an MSP an opportunity to have a new conversation about an old requirement, and being able to have that conversation of, hey, how can we help you if you do have these issues, or you are seeing reliability, or if you're going on site for an event or anything that might be coming up.
Absolutely. TJ, this has been incredible. I mean, you have shown us that it's more than just fast Wi-Fi. It's about delivering that experience. It's about creating revenue opportunities for MSPs in a way that most aren't thinking about. For anybody that wants to learn more about you guys, I am throwing your URL here in the ticker, RYTHMz.com. Any other ways that they should reach out to you?
RYTHMz, as far as on the website, there is a contact us page. You can reach out to me personally, TJ Vanderwerf at rythms.com, or on LinkedIn, or any of our social media channels. We like to be pretty easy to get a hold of, and love to connect with our partners and see what works. And we actually support a 2-week proof of concept. So for a new partner that goes, you know what, this is a great idea, but I don't know if it's going to work, or I don't think it's going to work in my area, let us send you a box for 2 weeks, deploy it at a customer site, and let us work with you and make sure we get the right solution for you at absolutely no cost.
Awesome. That's a great opportunity to take advantage of. For anybody also, if you're on the everythingmsp.com website, you can search for RYTHMz, learn more about them right there as well. And with that being said, TJ, thank you so much for your time and your sponsorship and partnership with us. We greatly appreciate it. And everybody that's here with us, thank you so much. Until next time, We will talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.